Oh, shit, that was fast. We're live. Episode 46, This Life in Tech. I'm Jason. Hey, everybody.
Hey, I'm Dan. Happy Kwanzaa to everyone.
Enjoy rifling through the back. You can see my boxes. I'm packing up, getting ready to go.
Anything good?
In the boxes?
Yeah.
This top one is all of my Warhammer 40K and fantasy models. There's some orcs in this shoebox.
Are you still playing 40K?
I haven't played 40K in a while, but the wife and I play small, warband fantasy.
Oh, nice.
The box below that is all my cycling gear, like my clothes.
Like when you're on HGH and stuff like that kind of cycling?
No. Not that kind of gear. Although
I'm not judging.
By the way, this is completely not where we're going to start, but fuck it, because it gets me riled up. Why is cycling and fighting the only two sports that at least I can think of where you're almost better off being second? Because if you're first, you're immediately accused of doping. And people will pursue you until they find some shred of micro evidence that you've done something. And then you're a bastard. Listen, I'm a huge Lance Armstrong fan. And I don't care that he doped. I don't give one shit at all. So I don't know. I know you don't necessarily follow cycling a lot, but obviously I do. And Chris Froome, who is not dominant in the way that Lance Armstrong was, but he's a fairly popular tier 1 rider in cycling. He's won the Tour de France multiple times, won some big races, really nice dude. He rides for Team Sky. And it just came out this week that in one of the races this past year, one of his urine samples came back with twice the allotted amount of, it's an asthma medication that you can either take orally or through an inhaler. Now listen, if people haven't cycled or done an extreme anaerobic sport, or even an aerobic sport for that matter, at a very high level, you don't understand what exercise-induced asthma is like. You don't have to have asthma to get exercise-induced asthma. And most cyclists at that level have some symptoms of it, because what do you think happens when you push your body for 6 hours every day for 3 weeks straight in the Tour de France? And all right, so these dudes, almost all of them take asthma inhalers or asthma medication. And so it came out, and now he's a doper. His legacy's tarnished. British cycling is screwed. Whatever, man. I don't get it.
That's just funny to me, because I honestly just don't care. I'm like, do whatever's available. You don't want to do it? Don't do it. I just don't care.
Right.
I definitely agree, though, that if you're second, think about how big players are right now, and they're doing it, and people or some of them aren't doing it, and people are like, "Oh, you're juicing." The dude's 6'6", 270 pounds. He needs anything to be just that strong. This is not like back in the day, Howard Johnson, who I feel like a giant around, all of a sudden hits 50 home runs when his career high was like 7.
Right.
He played for the Mets, by the way, for any potential baseball. I'm going, clearly, Brady Anderson all of a sudden puts on 50 pounds of muscle. I wonder what he's doing. They made it kind of obvious. But anyway, I guess that's actually a pretty good thing about, in all of this, what we're looking to talk about.
On This Life in Tech. And that happens to be, did my whole audio go?
No, your audio is fine. It's changed though.
Okay.
Now your video's gone.
Video's gone. The Bluetooth keeps dying for some reason. Who knows? I don't think Hangouts likes my video or my Bluetooth.
All right, you're back.
That matter. Yeah. Anyway, so I think everyone just needs to get off their soapbox. If we've got medical science and you want to go and do this, go and do it. Because here's the thing. It'll still be a level playing field. Today, in any sport, it's not a level playing field because some are doing it and some aren't.
Well, right here.
Let the past die.
Yeah, exactly. One last thing, and then we'll take that segue train. and this is my analogy. Mrs. Pittman has a completely different opinion, which shouldn't surprise anybody if they know both of us, right? She's very by the book. These are the rules. You don't break them. And my opinion is it's only cheating when, in reference to the other competitors, you're doing something that they're not that breaks the rules. So, okay, it's not uncommon for people that run marathons to cheat by taking a taxi cab or a train or a subway or something, right? And that's cheating because everybody else stayed on the prescribed course. You took presumably a shortcut that nobody else took. Therefore, you're a cheater. If everybody took that same shortcut, it's no longer a shortcut. Everybody had equal opportunity to get from A to B through C as fast as you did. Therefore, it's not cheating.
Right.
I mean, maybe that's
we have this,
maybe that's a rationalization, but it makes sense to me.
Yeah, we have this preconceived notion that it's not available to everyone, and it is.
Of course it is.
Of course it is. If you've got natural talent, it's just going to be enhanced. I mean, to me, it's like saying you're sick, don't go and take antibiotics.
Right.
You're cheating. You're cheating death.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let the past die. And that gets into where Jason hasn't seen Star Wars. I won't give out any spoilers to it, but I will say there's one line in there which is kind of like the theme of today's show. Kylo Ren is talking to Rey and about all these different things going on, and he just says, "Let the past die."
Yeah.
And I think that's in reference to a couple of things. Not only if you keep living by the things that have already happened in the past, your future is always going to be cloudy. You don't have a set path to go on. And this gets into all the Star Wars fandom. I happen to like the movie. I like what J.J. Abrams has done as a producer and the director, where they've taken this movie, because these three trilogies have all been about the Skywalker family, the Skywalker lineage. And J.J. Abrams has said that the next Star Wars movie, as part of this, will be the end of the Skywalker story. Whatever that means. I don't know if they're just not going to do it anymore or whatever, but I think it's a good run. Even though there's some corny parts in the movie, I mean, you have to have some of those to get kids involved and things like that. I thought it was very well done. I thought it played proper tribute to what Star Wars has meant to all these people of like our generation. I mean, those that were born in the 70s, we all grew up with Star Wars, and I thought it was a pretty good tribute. But Star Wars has so much more involved. I mean, I play Star Wars: The Old Republic. I've read all of the original expanded universe books because I just enjoyed them. I like what's coming out with the Old Republic. I mean, the original Old Republic PC game was awesome. It had so much fans around it, and there was no Skywalkers in there. There was no talk of Anakin Skywalker or anything along those lines. Let the past die. That way, we can have a potentially better future.
Well, right, and I saw an interview with Mark Hamill, and he said it, and I think it was in reference to The Force Awakens, where he said he was outside of the theater, I think maybe at the red carpet event, and somebody asked him about the fans, and he said, well, look, I'm paraphrasing, of course, if you come into this trying to recapture your youth when you watch the original films, 4, 5, and 6, then it's going to fucking suck. And exactly, because you have to let the past die and let the new things be themselves. And you've heard me say this before, particularly in the reference into big franchises like this. If you're a true fan of that universe, then how is more of that universe ever bad? As an individual work, it may not compare to other things, but I'm obviously, as people know, more of a Lord of the Rings Hobbit fan than I am a Star Wars fan, even a Star Trek fan.
That's because you look like a dwarf most days.
Yeah, maybe. But the same thing happens there, where people try to view new things as if they were the old. And they're trying to hold on to something through nostalgia or, I'll give you a very poignant analogy for letting the past die and how important the future is. Even if a future is a mistake, even if a future sucks, there's always a future past that. Man, a friend from high school passed away this year. who I hadn't talked to in probably 10 or 15 years, but when I was in high school and undergrad, we were really, really, really close. And this is morbid, man. My parents sent me the obituary, like clipped it out of the paper and sent it to me. I'm like, what the fuck, man? That's kind of strange and dark.
Yeah, why wouldn't they just take a picture of it and text it to you?
They don't have smartphones, man. Listen, I just sent my mom a smartphone. It's her first smartphone.
I have some black phones that are still in a box. I mean,
listen, I have one B2 still in a box, man, and I'm not opening it. I'm gonna leave it like that.
Same. I mean, it's I'm still getting things kind of packed up for my move. We created this thing, man.
Yeah. No, and so I'm never gonna. I have one left. It's still in the box, just like that. I'm not opening it. But anyway, man. So I read this obituary, right? And I hadn't talked to this dude, like I said, in 10 or 15 years. And I'm thinking, oh, you know, he probably did all this cool stuff. He grew up. I knew he had a family and stuff. It was all about the past, man. Like the highlight of it, and I'm not shitting on his memory. It's part of letting the past die and moving forward. Like his best days were in high school, and you know people like this. And there's no idea of the future, even if it isn't immediately better, can be better because it's the future and it's undefined. Even in a deterministic universe, right? You still don't know what it is. And I have friends that are big Star Wars fanatics, and to hear them, because my point I'm driving towards is the reviews, because the reviews for this film are, I think, almost in an unprecedented way, diametrically opposed. Half the reviews are it's complete hot garbage, and the other reviews are it's awesome because it's Star Wars, right? And I look at the reviews that are it's hot garbage, and clearly these people viewed it to be garbage for one of two reasons. One, they hate Disney, so they just hate everything Disney touches for whatever reason, or they cannot let go of the past, and they're trying to imagine this film being Empire Strikes Back, and it's not. I mean, it's not. It's its own film.
It's its own film. And, you know, I will tell you, like, not seeing Mark Hamill really act since Return of the Jedi, at least for me. I mean, I know he's been voices of a lot of characters. I thought he played the part very well here. I enjoyed it, you know, and I'm also in the minority when it comes to Star Wars fans in general, because my favorite movie is still Return of the Jedi. Most people say, no, Empire Strikes Back. And I'm like, to me, it's Return of the Jedi. I liked it because this is someone that had to essentially be self-taught. He had nothing but, on occasion, some Force ghosts help him along the way. But he had to figure it out. And he just went in back to his home where the childhood fear everyone knew Jabba the Hutt was this huge crime lord. And he walked right in there and went, I'm going to take Han. You're making a mistake. You're going to pay for this. And did it. Mm-hmm. He's like Ric Flair and went in there and was like, woo! Walk the walk, talk the talk.
Well, you know, and
took back his friend and got out.
And man, I agree with you. That's probably my favorite Star Wars film is Return of the Jedi out of all of them. And there's some particular reasons why, and a lot of it is in the opening. For me, especially as a kid seeing that in the theater, I didn't see the first film in the theater. I was too young. I saw Empire Strikes Back in the theater, and I saw Return in the theater.
Yep.
That was the first time that I started to realize that good guys wore white and bad guys wore black. That's a very typical trope in film and in literature too. And what does Luke wear? Black. But he's still a hero for us, right? Now, I tend to think that he's a rebel in the sense that he's a terrorist, right? I mean, I'm not politicizing that, but he is in that context. And there's something that draws us into that, almost back to the American Revolution, right?
Sure.
Of having that immigrant mentality of fighting against some bigger oppressor, which, if you're ready, is our segue into the next one, which also ties into letting things die. I thought it'd be neat to talk about net neutrality because I think you and I have the same opinion, which is probably different than a lot of people in our social circle.
And we're probably going to get a lot of hate mail over this.
Please.
And I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely fine with it because you have to let the past die in order to be able to grow.
Yep.
And here's the way I look at net neutrality. And I look at this with the same way I look at anything in our free market society that we're supposed to have. Let the market decide. You don't like it, vote with your feet. I believe that restaurants, if you want to allow smoking inside your restaurant, so be it. I just won't go there. Because here's the thing. If there is a market for smoking only restaurants, then you'll make plenty of money. You're just not going to get my money. Because here, smokers can always go to a non-smoking restaurant and walk outside to smoke, but a non-smoker isn't going to go inside of a smoking restaurant and eat because they don't want to smell like smoke. Well, there are some contracts out there with some of these smaller municipalities where they sign some lifetime-like contract with these internet service providers. But in every contract that I have ever seen, clause that says all pieces of this contract shall remain intact until a court were to strike out a piece of it. If that provision is struck out, then that one will be removed, but all other pieces remain intact. Pass a law. Call your people up. Let there be competition. And then maybe net neutrality means nothing. Let the market decide. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, and I'm fine with it too for slightly different reasons. I totally agree with your point. And that's one of the things that kind of drives me crazy personally is I see a lot of people that criticize the repeal of net neutrality because it's some totalitarian move to force us to pay. Well, first of all, you're already paying. And you're already paying on a tiered service. You don't realize it. Your traffic is already being throttled based on what you're doing. That's already happening, right? So forget about that. That's not the argument. And at the same time, we see this like with healthcare too. Oh, why do I have these giant insurance premiums? The government should do something. Well, wait, if you want the government to do something, then you're clearly not supporting a free market. So if you want to support a free market, then let the market decide at will. And more choice is better for a free market. So, but I look at net neutrality and the repeal of it, not that I'm okay with the fuckery with the FCC, not that I'm okay with nepotism, not that I'm okay with lobbying and stuff like that. That's not my point. But my point is this is what's happened, and we're looking at the future instead of the past. Let it die. The best thing that can come out of this, and I think it's a huge thing that should come out of it, and it will, is innovation. Create an alternative. And whether that is instead of sitting on your couch and fucking crying about it, run for office, run for a local office, run for state office, make a difference. Create an alternative technology.
Call your politicians.
Yeah.
Call them up. Say, I want you to vote this way. I want this thing done.
Yeah.
I don't know very many people that do that. When I was in Maryland, I did that all the time. All the time. Because this is the way I want you to vote.
Right.
You don't like it, you don't vote this way, you're not going to have my vote.
Well, I mean, because people don't step back to consider that maybe the reason that representatives don't represent us is because we don't represent ourselves. So what is that person left to do? Well, represent what they think is best. And that often because of human behavior.
Yeah, if their constituents aren't calling them and saying, do the following things, then what are you going to get?
Right.
You can't expect to get much.
No, because what that human being is left with is being a human being and preserving their own self-interest. Why anybody in that situation should do the exact same thing. I mean, they have a family.
Absolutely.
Too. How can you fault them for it? Now, if you change that incentive so that in order to keep feeding their family, they need to represent you, then that's where the incentive is, and that's what they'll do. Or they'll be gone. Or you can run for it. Fuck it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and this happens with everything. I mean, people also want the government to step in to do certain things, but they don't understand. Like when it comes to healthcare or anything along those lines, that means all of our taxes go up. Okay, and I really can't. This is one of those things that gets back to me as well. I hate the fact that we continue to raise the minimum wage. McDonald's was never supposed to feed a family of 4. That's a starter job. That's something for, high school kids, college kids, while they have a little bit of cash so they can easily get in and around their schoolwork and stuff like that. And that's not to be a career out of. Now all of a sudden we're paying people $15 an hour to work at McDonald's. Give me a break.
Well, no, and another good
Okay.
point is your restaurant smoking analogy. So growing up, I had smoking restaurants around me. I smoked, and I smoked in restaurants as a teenager and a young adult. And the argument, part of the argument of repealing it was the workers had no choice. And I never understood that, and I still don't understand that, because that has nothing to do with the free market decision as to whether there are or are not smoking establishments. The argument that the worker doesn't have a choice is an argument of why are we not empowering people to get into situations that are productive for them as human beings? And that's a completely different conversation.
But see, they also have a choice. They knew fully well going into that establishment that this establishment allows smoking. Do you want to work there or not? I have a choice to where I work. I can vote with my feet. When I don't agree with my employer, I can go find a job somewhere else. If I don't have the skills to go somewhere else, then I can reasonably obtain them.
Right. And to me, that's the core of that argument is, so if there is a section of the population, which I can imagine there is, that doesn't have the training and or education to elevate themselves, then to me, that's the argument. Not that we shouldn't allow other people to smoke in a restaurant or watch Star Wars or get healthcare or whatever the fuck the example is, right? It's a different argument, and to me, it's like abortion, right? To me, the abortion argument boils down to personal responsibility, not whether or not a fetus is a baby. That's to me is a conflated argument that has nothing to do with the material issue. The material issue to me is responsibility as an individual, and how as a society we support that. Or drugs.
Yeah, sure.
Drugs, the same thing. Legalize them all. Who gives a shit? Because it's already criminal to do criminal things, right? I mean, if I do something to harm somebody or myself in some situations, there's already legislation to handle that. We don't need more. So why control it? Tax it. Look at the huge benefits to society.
Yeah, make money off of it.
Yeah, same thing with...
Let the government go ahead and have some money.
Yeah, create a market for it. Why not? I mean...
Hey, it seems to be doing quite well in Denver.
In Washington State, yeah, it does phenomenally well. And what do you see? You see lower incidence of DUI. You see lower incidences of domestic abuse. Underage consumption is dramatically dropped. Same thing you see with us. Instead of abstinence sex education, contraception, you see HPV go down, you see STDs go down, you see teen pregnancies go down. Why is that? Well, because when you recognize that a human's a human, and they're going to do human things, whether you want them to or not, for whatever reason you think is appropriate, and instead we train them and educate them to do those things in a seemingly safe way, guess what happens? They do it in that safe way.
Yeah. Speaking of that, which is kind of funny because this is truly let the market decide type of situation. Amsterdam, they were told, stop with the drugs, stop with the prostitution. So they did a pilot of it, certain areas. They saw the amount of money that they lost and went, nope, we're staying with what we want to do. You don't like it? We don't need to be a part of the EU.
Yeah.
They're still a part of it.
Sure they are. Well, and I really like the Dutch philosophy.
Because money and the market decided.
Yeah, well, and I like that Dutch philosophy. It's very future looking. It's German with a good sense of humor. It's very future looking. It's very, hey, you're responsible for your own personal freedom. And as long as you're not criminally harming somebody else or yourself, we're fine with whatever you choose as an adult.
Hey, and guess what about, for any of you that have never been to Amsterdam or the Netherlands, if you like fish, some of the best seafood I have ever had is right there. And I know seafood. I grew up on the Chesapeake Bay. So we know what seafood's all about. Now, their crabs weren't all that good over there, but that's not what they're known for. But the fish, oh my gosh, it is amazing.
Maryland has great crab cakes, but the clam chowder is horrible compared to New England.
Oh yeah, you don't get clams from I'm not a big fan of clams anyway. But yeah, that's not where you want to go for clam chowder.
No,
they have good scallops,
yeah,
good crabs, good fish. Rockfish, great fish. But best seafood to me has been in the Netherlands. That was just amazing.
But back to net neutrality. So I mean, we have to accept that this is the way it is. And I don't begrudge people for wanting to protest it. I support that. But at some point, a protestation through voice only isn't enough. If you really want progress, you have to come up with ideas to progress. Whether that's coming up with a technology, supporting a technology, voting, not voting for certain people, writing legislators, running for local government.
Anything, right? And I think everyone's got this doomsday aspect. Take a look at what, Google saw this coming. Why do you think they have been so hot and heavy on Google Fiber?
Yeah.
Google is the one that probably has, well, at least one of the ones, a whole lot to lose. Because look at all their content they're putting out. And they don't want that. So that's why they're coming out with Google Fiber. Sign me up. Come on out to, closer into Indiana. Or actually, maybe then wherever I happen to end up next, I'm going to make sure it just has Google Fiber.
Well, right. I mean, that's an informed choice that shows that you're taking responsibility for your own freedom, right? I mean,
because I can get everything from Google. I already use an Android phone. YouTube is competing with Netflix and stuff like that at this point now.
Mm-hmm.
The companies that stand to lose right now are Google, Netflix, Amazon. If you're not an internet service provider, you're the one that stands to lose, and you're going to have to pay. Well, maybe then at that point, you have to start playing that game as well. Google's got the cash. Facebook has the cash. Facebook has a lot to lose here.
Well,
either you start paying it or do what Google's doing, build your own service provider network.
Right. Well, and these providers of services or access are only going to be able to charge so much for so long. I mean, and then the market won't support it. People aren't going to pay an exorbitant amount past what we already are, right, comparatively. Somebody will come up with an alternative, whether it's me, you, or somebody we know, or somebody we don't know that isn't even born yet. It's going to happen eventually. This is what drives innovation. And I think that's what makes, in particular, the United States probably the best country in the world, is our ability to adapt to an adverse situation and innovate a solution for it. You don't see that happen a lot in a lot of other countries, man.
I think we'll start seeing a lot more wireless providers start popping up because I don't have to go underground.
No,
I mean, T-Mobile. So, I'm out here visiting the kids, and where I was staying didn't have internet. Well, I have unlimited data plan with T-Mobile. I was watching Netflix tethered to my laptop, watching Netflix at night because I have unlimited data. No degradation in my service. I'm just kind of going, well, maybe I don't even need internet service provider anymore.
What do you remember?
I'll just pay an incremental amount more to T-Mobile.
Do you remember the concept of WiMAX?
Yeah.
And they tested it, and it did fairly well. I out here, I think San Diego had it for a while, and LA. I haven't looked into it in a long time, but that was a big thing, man. And the idea of a community-driven mesh Wi-Fi, I mean, we already have the technology. We already have it. It's just a matter of getting people to do it well. I mean,
boom.
Right. So actually, this is a good topic to segue into. I remembered something I did want to bring up. What about the recent apparent BGP attack? Did you read about that? With all the traffic for Apple and Facebook and a bunch of other companies being redirected to Russia?
I didn't see that. Yeah. Missed that one.
Yeah, what was it?
It's interesting.
I think yesterday, the day before yesterday, it was a bunch of major Silicon Valley companies had all of their all of their traffic for quite a bit of time redirected to Russia.
So that's a much bigger issue because that's something they can directly control than it is like with DNS when it was back in 2011 where it was found that over a third of the entire United States net traffic all went through China.
Yeah.
For 6 months.
Yeah.
Because China was able to find an exploit in DNS. And
that's the thing, right? I mean, you and I dealt with this a good bit with BGP. Most people don't filter those advertisements because they're assumed to be good because it's BGP, right? Especially if you're a carrier. Why would you filter?
Why aren't they encrypting their authentication for BGP? I mean, it's available.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the specifics of it, and I didn't read any details of exactly what happened. What's that?
Encrypting and authenticating BGP peers. I don't understand.
Well, I mean, it might be a fucking good idea now. But yeah, man, apparently all the traffic got shunted over. I don't know. I didn't read any, like I was saying, I didn't see any technical details. It was just this anonymous, ominous report of, oh man, unexpectedly all this traffic for I don't know how long, hours, days, was redirected through Russia. But it was very targeted. It was very targeted to specific companies.
Oh yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah. So I mean, we don't even need your DNS at that point. We don't need. This is what I was going to say. And you don't need an exploit, so you don't require a vulnerability. You just
I just have all your traffic. I can take as long as I want. Wow, unbelievable.
Oh Jesus Christ, man! I got a text.
Well, I got a text with everything.
I got a text real quick. I got a text from a friend the other day. Funny enough, about net neutrality, and I was in Disneyland when I got it. Right, put this together. He's like, "Oh man, the days of the Wild Wild West are over." And I'm like, "I don't think so, man. In fact, I think you're going to get a new Wild Wild West. That's what we're going to see. Which I don't know that's a bad thing. Let's be pioneers again."
We won't know. We have no idea, and well, let the past die, and we'll find out.
Yep.
And if we don't like what the next version is. I mean, Microsoft's been making a killing off of just coming out with new operating systems. So there'll just be a next version.
That's right.
What's going to be next?
That's right. And if you want it to be a specific way, participate. There's always ways to participate. I tell students this all the time. Write the documentation. It's a great way to get involved in a project, especially if you don't have the knowledge to contribute technically yet. But it's a great way to learn. It's a great way to meet people.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say about this letting the past die, because I posted this on Twitter earlier today. I was reading this article, and I don't remember the guy's name off the top of my head, but I posted it. It's on my Twitter. It's essentially an African-American guy from the South who actually goes around talking to different members of the KKK and things like that. Just got back from Charlottesville. And he's like, "Why do you hate me? You don't even know me." Like, peaceful. He's like, "I've been kicked. I've been spit on. Even people that are also of color or not supporting these racists and things like that." And I'm going, hey, racism is also a part of our history. And if I don't let that die, I as a human being can't evolve either. It's kind of the message that I was getting from this. But it's pretty brave for this African-American man, I don't know, he looks like he's in his 50s, to go up and just talk to a bunch of people that are part of the KKK and neo-Nazis, you name it, and actually just talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we have a society of people that are it's becoming popular to be a victim. And here's a man that essentially is saying, I'm letting this past die. I acknowledge that racism is a part of our past. I acknowledge that the KKK is a part of our past. The Confederate flag, part of the past. If you don't acknowledge it, learn from it, and move forward, the future won't exist. And this man, my hat's off to him, because I think that if we have those types of brave souls, and we have more of those types of brave souls in this country and in this world, then our future looks pretty bright.
I agree, man.
The past die.
I agree, and that applies to a lot of things, in my opinion. If you continue to dwell in the past and allow it to define your future, then why the fuck are you surprised that your future looks just like the past? And those things are perpetuated. I mean,
yep.
That's what's so dangerous about. I don't want to say ostracizing, because it's the wrong word, but that's what's wrong about segmenting off parts of the population under a label. Is it marginalizes them, and you're never going to allow that to move forward, because it's always going to be defined by that thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right on.
So yeah, man, let it go. Let it go.
Let's let it
go.
Well, on that note,
well played.
Which was a little flat.
Hey,
which was a little flat. Kind of like a B flat. I think that about does it for today.
Episode 46, man. That was a good one. I think we got some good
Yep,
stuff
great
out there.
one.
If anybody disagrees or agrees, leave a comment, send us a tweet. We can always talk about it next week. We got to come up with some predictions for 2018, by the way.
Yeah, even join the show. We can have a guest come on.
Yeah.
Let's have the debate, but be respectful.
That's right. We can have civil discourse. We can disagree and agree, and
Yep.
and yeah. Well, we'll see how that goes. Yeah, man.
All
I'm
right.
always up for
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, my friends.
All right, everybody. Episode 46. That's it. Have a good weekend. Talk to you guys next week.
See you all next week.
Bye.
Peace.